This guy is nuts. Is he really making daily recordings of his possible divorce and releasing it as a podcast? They both cheated on each other? She's making 6 figures and still doesn't contribute to any joint endeavors financially? Why is she still with him? Why is he still with her? I can't wait for the next episode. This helps me be a better wife. So this is how men think. I hate my husband less now. I understand my wife more now. These are some of the listener comments to the Divorce Diaries podcast. All over the map, I know. These anonymous accounts of events should resonate with anyone that has been married, is married, or is preparing for marriage, and helps couples avoid pitfalls as they might prepare for marriage. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else. At Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
Welcome to the rebooted Divorce Diaries podcast, where I don't bitch and complain and moan like I did in the past. From a place of weakness and a place of hurt and pain and anger. All of my horrible, initially released episodes that are no longer public. No one needs to constantly hear someone lament and complain about how their life sucks. And also come from it from a victim mindset with a bad perspective where you think that the only person that's the problem is your wife, like I used to. So as I try to unravel and unpack me being the biggest blamer of all and just an overall not good guy with a good perspective. I mean, I'm a good guy. Like I'm not going to step over a person if they are hurt, hungry, homeless, whatever. I'm going to help. I'm going to assist. I'm going to hold the door open for ladies. I'm a good, nice person, but man, I don't think I understood the amount of baggage that I had in my life, and I don't think I understood how screwed up my perspective really was and how off base I was with certain things. So right now, I'm living in my own place. We are divorcing, and I have some significant medical stuff coming up, but I'm in therapy now. That's me. I'm the person that has a therapist now. I've got standing. I'm trying to record this in the car at work, and there's obviously a thunderstorm coming. That was what you just heard. Incredible. Lots of car alarms are going off now. It's kind of crazy, but staying focused. And that's been a big problem of mine, which I hope to work through in therapy. Just understanding that you can be thrown a curveball, like with what just happened. I am trying to just come to my car calmly right now. I don't have anywhere to go. I just got rid of my puppy because he just didn't fit into our lives anymore, us living in separate places, the kids no longer being with me. They couldn't handle the pup by themselves, so he came with me, but now I'm kind of coming back and forth between homes because I'm trying to see my kids while the dog is still a puppy and tearing up stuff at my place, and it just didn't work. And I'm losing my family right now in this divorce. I am not speaking with my kids. Some really bad stuff happened with my wife and I. I'm living by myself. I don't even have a dog. I don't know what it's like to be alone. I was born in my mother and father's house, and my parents divorced, but my mom was always there, and I had a sibling, and then I, went straight from there to getting married and moving with my wife, and I am much, much, much older with many more kids, and I've never, ever, ever been alone. Without the help of a therapist, I think I've understood and figured out that I've got a lot of codependency. And that likely led to me squeezing my wife way, way, way too hard. And just... That was more thunder. I've relied heavily on her, and I squeezed her too tightly. I expected too much from her. I wanted her to be my everything, my all, my this, my that, and I bought into all the sappy love songs, and it's just us. It's just us. I didn't value friendships with other people. I had some friendships with other people, but my parents were really controlling, and I don't know. I don't even have anything to say. All I can say is that I had parents that I thought were not really emotionally abusive. I thought the only type of abuse was physical. I didn't understand that I was codependent. I didn't understand that I was reliant on my wife. I didn't understand that I expected too much from my marriage. Not that my wife couldn't deliver certain things, but it's just like I had such high expectations of both her and me and our marriage. And I just need a therapist to help me unpack a lot of this stuff. And I think and hope that everyone can and maybe should have some form of therapy themselves. Just, you know, that advice that you give to the main character in a movie, like, don't do that, don't go in that room, or, just tell her what you really feel, or, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Just whatever the things are, you're able to yell the right things because you've got a different perspective than the main character. The perspective you have is one of clarity. You actually saw the jump cut that went to the other scene where you know what the actual other character is thinking. So you feel that you can tell this other character, that doesn't know what that other character's thinking. But you could say it. If I could just come through the screen and tell you and shake you and say, she was waiting for you at the subway. Just go there. You've got insight. And sometimes that's what a therapist has. The therapist doesn't have the same scar that you might have from your parents. The therapist wasn't necessarily cheated on by your spouse the same way with the same dynamics. And the therapist is not you. So the therapist likely might be able to derive some better and healthy perspectives for you. The therapist might be able to help. And, I've taken a shit on so many different parts of my life, and I don't want to take shit on my life anymore. So I just really want to get my shit fixed. But I guess I had to first admit that I was broken, and that's why I'm in therapy. So I had my first session, and I'll give you a little insight into the session. I'm not going to talk too much about what I talk about. Well, first, there's nothing to talk about now. This was just the first session, so it's kind of like, tell me about your family, tell me about this, and tell me about this tough situation, tell me about this divorce, and that's a lot for you to take on. But there's one. I'll tell you about the negatives. So the therapist starts off by saying that she says, I am white, obviously, and because it's a video chat session. So she's like, I'm white, and that obviously means I was born with privilege. So I may say things that are insensitive, so I need you to help me and educate me whenever you think I need to be educated. Because I am white, and I was born with privilege. As she says this, I immediately put my head down. I used to kind of go in kind of hot and maybe get heated. And I did get a little warm, but I just kind of picked my head up and I looked at her and I said, I don't really think that way. So I would prefer because she was very concerned about maybe offending me. And with that statement, she was very quote unquote woke, and she obviously felt some white guilt And she maybe felt that she was privileged in a way that I wasn't because we are different. And I just immediately said, I don't really think that way. And I just would like this to be two people talking. And she sort of immediately snapped out of it. She kind of like opened her eyes a little bit wider, as if that wasn't a response she was expecting. But she took that and she said, okay, sounds good. And I'm thinking to myself, now that I'm talking to you guys and recording this entry, I don't want you as my therapist thinking about race and your guilt, your white privilege. I just want to talk to you about like the fucked up childhood that I feel that I have, and maybe you can help me connect a few dots on why it's way worse than I knew, not as bad as I thought, and how I can unpack it and get better and process and heal. Even recognize that I'm wounded so that I can heal. That's really what I want. And so that was one. So that was interesting, but I hope that we can have a good time together and I can grow by having this relationship with her. And yeah, so I'm in therapy. We've got more appointments coming. We'll be syncing up once a week, she and I. I've also got another appointment with another guy, and I'm just going to feel him out as well, and I'll just see who do I want to keep appointments with. I don't want to keep appointments with both of them because I just probably be rehashing like stuff with one. I've just got to commit with one and, see how I feel maybe after 3 or 6 months, I guess. I don't know, but I used to come into everything with plans, with a perspective, with a plan. What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to let somebody else have the wheel. Let somebody else control this thing. I don't want to know everything. I don't want to try to fix everything. I don't want to do that anymore because I haven't fixed anything. I've fucked up relationships with almost everyone in my life because I've pushed too hard, because I've loved too hard, because I've squeezed too tight, because I haven't let people make their own mistakes, so I've smothered them. All out of love, but I mean, man, oh man, I think I've loved some people to death, and that hasn't been good for them. So I'm just trying to be better, and I think we all should go on a little journey to maybe figure out who the hell we are, why we do what we do, if we're a positive force in other people's lives or if we're a negative one, because I know I've been a negative one. I'll update you more later.
Wow, that was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.